Am I 3OF overreacting to my husband's 34M words? Plus update. My husband and I have been married for 2 years, almost 3. We dated for 2 years before we got married, and we have been friends for over 10 years. We have a toddler together, and I have an elementary school-age son from a previous relationship. We had always been attracted to each other when we were just friends, but we were both always in and out of relationships, and the timing never worked out for anything to happen. So fast forward to us getting together finally, me with a small child and him with no children. Everything was wonderful until I moved in with him after we got engaged. And then I felt like it was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It was basically like he hated me in his space. Anything I asked to change was a huge deal. Anything I asked him to do was a huge deal. I tried to be sensitive and respect that it was his house originally, but I live there now too, and had a bit higher standards of cleaning than he. Anything I said was wrong, though. It was always that I was attacking him. I didn't appreciate him. This was his house, etc., etc. I tried to make sure he knew how appreciative I was that he had let my son and me into his home, but it didn't matter. I kept telling myself that he was just scared. He had never had anyone live with him before. He would. Well, he got better in some ways, but we continued having awful fights. These fights would always end with him telling me it was a mistake that we got together. We shouldn't get married. I was selfish. I was entitled. He didn't like me as a person. I wasn't who he thought. He could understand why a previous boyfriend had beat me, and on and on. Just really harsh and cruel stuff. All the while saying I should respect him and everything he does for us. I feel like I've been so dumb for continuing on in this relationship. I feel so horrible for putting my kids through this. He screams at me in front of them, calls me names, breaks things. But at the same time, he tells me it's my fault. That I'm so difficult I make him act this way. The rational side of me says that no, I don't force anyone to act this way. People are responsible for their own actions. I know I'm not perfect. I know I can nag and be grumpy, and I tend to have some pessimistic and depressive tendencies. But is it my fault that I make someone react so explosively? Recently, he told me that he didn't give a shit about my son, very loudly, where my son could have possibly very likely hurt him. My son has no contact with his biological dad and thinks of my husband as his dad. I can't imagine how devastating that would be for my son. There was one time when he spanked my son so hard that he left welts on his leg. When he was just a toddler, I should have left then, and I don't know why I didn't. I feel so guilty about it all the time. He hasn't laid his hands on my son since. My husband says that all of the things he says are in the heat of the moment, so they don't really mean anything. To me, they're unforgivable. Saying he doesn't give a shit about my son is unforgivable, and telling me what a shitty person I am for years and making me feel like crap about myself is unforgivable. He's been telling me for years that he hates me, and now we're on the brink of divorce, and he is acting so hurt that I don't like him anymore. Am I crazy? Is he crazy? Am I overreacting to the things he says? If someone repeatedly tells you what a piece of shit you are over the years, and that they don't like you as a person, shouldn't you take them at their word, even if it is the heat of the moment? I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, honestly. Maybe just someone to tell me I'm not crazy, because he often makes me feel like it. Update. I just wanted to come back and update and say, all of you were right. I should have left that night. Not too long after posting that, the emotional abuse finally turned physical. I was held hostage in my home for over an hour while I was assaulted, demeaned, and scared for my life. I left that night. It was a hard road. I've questioned myself, my sanity, and sometimes even whether I did the right thing. Emotional abuse took a huge toll on my psyche and self-worth. I am happy to say, though, that life has drastically improved for the better. I bought a new home for my kids, and we've got a sweet dog and two precious kitties. My son just started 2nd grade and really enjoyed his first day. Everything is falling into place. I feel horrible for what I put them through, and I know there will probably be rough patches ahead, but we are infinitely better off than where we were. If you read my original post and it resonates for you, please take the advice of the commenters. Get out, leave. No one deserves that sort of treatment, and it's only going to get worse.